Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. The question is asking about this narration here on the authority of Aisha, and some of them have attributed it to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is it sahih? And if it is sahih, what's the meaning of it? And if it is not sahih, then how do we respond? It's been reported by al-Bayhaqi and others, Shu'ab al-Iman, that Aisha radiallahu anha narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, or some of them said it's the statement of Aisha, لا تنزلوهن الغرف ولا تعلموهن الكتابة علموهن المغسل وسورة النور. Do not allow them to attend the classrooms, and do not teach them how to write. Teach them how to spindle the wheel, how to make cloth, how to make, busy them with textiles, and teach them Surah An-Nur. Surah An-Nur in it are ahkam of mahram and hijab and things like that. Just teach them that, that's all they need to know. In another narration, وَاسْتَعِينُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْعُلَى, and teach them or protect them from what would expose them. وَأَكْثِرُوا لَهُنَّ مِنْ قَوْلٍ لَا, and be excessive in constantly saying to them no. Forbid them from everything. فَإِنَّ النَّعَمْ, and if you were to allow them and you say yes to them, تَغْرِيهِنَّ عَلَى الْمَسْأَلَةِ, it will tempt them to constantly keep asking you. You can see how problematic this narration is. This narration, Imam adh-Dhahabi said, mawdu'. Shaykh al-Albani said, mawdu'. Ibn Jawzi says, mawdu'. All of these ulama have said that the hadith la yasih, is not authentic at all. In actual fact, there is no doubt with the ulama of hadith that this narration is fabricated. There's a man called Muhammad ibn Ibrahim ash-Shami, and he is a person who used to fabricate narrations. Daraqutni said that the guy is a liar, the narrator is a liar. Ibn Hajar said that he is munkar al-hadith, he's completely rejected. Therefore, this narration is not sound whatsoever, not in the slightest. However, can we take a ruling from this though? No. The best that I've found, there are many things that the ulama have mentioned when it comes to women being educated. The first word is iqra. The last word that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the last words sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us to hold firm to the kitab and the sunnah by learning it. From the beginning to the end, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam constantly teaching us the importance of education. Shaykh al-Albani said women are the twin halves of men. If men need to learn, then women need to learn. We have a hadith which is inshallah sahih. طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. In another narration, على كل مسلم ومسلمة. Seeking knowledge is wajib upon every single Muslim and Muslimah. There are so many things. However, this particular narration, can we gain from this that women are not supposed to be educated? Ibn Hajar al-Haythami, he has a fatwa on this. Somebody asked him, what is the ruling on this narration here? Is it sahih or is it da'if? He says, Al-Hakim has narrated it, Bayhaqi has narrated it, and he says that it is sahih. Ibn Hajar al-Haythami. Now, it's something we need to learn about Ibn Hajar al-Haythami is that sometimes he used to be very relaxed in authenticating narration. So he's accepted it, but you have to remember, in his ijtihad, he's very relaxed. Whereas, as you can see, many of the ulama, to the extent that some of them have said that there's no doubt that the narration is fabricated and is weak. This narration, he says, do not teach women how, or do not let them enter into the classrooms, and do not teach them how to write. Instead, teach them how to spindle the wheel, and teach them Surah Nur. Because, and this is what he's explaining now, because of the ahkam which are connected in Surah An-Nur concerning women, and how they can protect themselves from fitna. And then he says there's a narration in At-Tirmidhi, by Al-Hakim At-Tirmidhi, on the authority of Ibn Mas'ud, who is attributed to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but this hadith is also not authentic. لا تسكنوا نساءكم غرف ولا تعلموهن الكتابة. Similar to what we see from the previous narration, do not allow them to stay in the rooms, in the classrooms, and do not teach them how to write. In another narration from Al-Hakim At-Tirmidhi, now this is different to the Tirmidhi that we know of, rahimahullah. Al-Hakim At-Tirmidhi is different. Tirmidhi, the one who did the Jami' Sunan, he is the well-known Tirmidhi that people would often associate hadith with. This is a different Tirmidhi, so remember that. Hakim al-Tirmidhi, he narrates that Ibn Masud narrates that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, now this is weak, that Luqman alayhi salam went past a slave girl who was writing. Now look how terrible this is. This narration is completely fabricated. All of these are fabricated. But look how terrible this one is in particular. Luqman, the one mentioned in the Quran alayhi salam, the whole surah Luqman about him, he went past a slave girl and she was writing. So he said, who will polish this sword? Meaning, you can see the inference. Wallahu musta'an. And Ibn Hajar al-Haythami, rahimahullah, actually even explains, meaning, who is going to polish this sword so I can slaughter and kill this girl? Now, none of these narrations are authentic, but the reason why I'm using this fatwa from Ibn Hajar al-Haythami, he has accepted it, but look how he explains it. Look how he explains it. He says, in this is an indication, suggestion, indication that women should not be allowed to learn how to write. The reason being, because when they write, or writing in general, is a means for knowledge to spread faster than any other way. And it could open up the doors for people who do not have knowledge and people who are not in a position to learn or write, then to start writing. So what he's saying here is women traditionally are not involved in education, and if you allow them and teach them to write, they're going to spread misinformation. This is because through writing, knowledge spreads faster than any other way. Then he says, Ibn Hajar, look, then he says, this does not negate the fact that women are taught the religion, that women should be taught knowledge. He says there's a hadith on the authority of Abu Hurairah, and again, there's some, like we said before, Ibn Hajar, rahimahullah, al-Haythami, not Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Ibn Hajar al-Haythami, he was very relaxed when it comes to hadith. So this narration, again, is not authentic, but he's using it, as in, so let's just see what he's saying. Now, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has been attributed to say, إِنَّ الْحَقَّ الْوَلَدِ الْوَالِدِ أَن يُعَلِّمُ الْكِتَابِ. The right of the child upon the parent is for the parent to teach the child how to become literate, how to read and write. And that he gives them a good name, and that he marries them off when they come of the appropriate age. 3 rights in this narration here. And he mentions from this now, this is proof to say that education is the right of the parent upon the child. As for writing, this is something, according to his opinion, something which is exclusive for men, for males, and not for females. However, that does not negate وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ النَّهِي أَنْ تَعْلِيمِ النِّسَاءِ الْكِتَابَ لا ينافي طلب تعليمهن القرآن والعلوم والآداب. Look at this. He said you cannot use these narrations which prevent women from learning how to read and write. You cannot use this narration to say that you ban them from education altogether. Rather, they must be taught the Quran. They must be taught the different disciplines, fiqh, hadith, English, science, whatever it might be that is useful for them, and adab. Then he continues, rahimahullah, لأن في هذه مصالح العامة. In this there is a benefit for us all. من غير خشية مفاسدة تتولد عليها بخلاف الكتابة. This is because teaching them how to write, that's one thing. There is a mafsada according to him. Remember, this is according to, I'm only quoting Ibn Hajar for the sake of looking at those people who actually used this narration. How did they understand this narration from the ulama? So he's saying here, women being able to become literate and read and write, there is a mafsada involved, because they would then get involved with writing and authoring and maybe even today's equivalent journalism and all that kind of stuff. He's saying there's a mafsada in that for women getting involved in that. As for knowledge, no, they are not prevented from knowledge whatsoever. وأخرج أبو ناصر, there's another narration. Let me just move on from the chain of narration. Ad-Daylami and Ibn Najjar have narrated, and again this narration is not authentic from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Addibu awladakum ala thalathi khisal." Teach your children three things: hubb nabiyikum, the love of your Prophet, wa hubb ahli baytih, and love for his family, the Messenger of Allah's family, wa qira'at al-Quran, and teach them how to recite the Quran. So he is saying here, again, generality in the rights of the child over the parent, which is that he teaches them knowledge. And he goes on, and there's another narration that he takes from Abu Dawood, and he says that Hafsa radiallahu anha was with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to the girls that were there, "Allimiha ruqya namla." Teach them how to do the ruqya of the namla. We don't have time to explain that right now, but this is a particular type of ruqya where they use ants and they use insects to find the particular place for them to bite and make incisions in the skin, and this is a type of ruqya and operation, so to speak, that they used to perform. Kama allamtiha kitaba. So he says to Hafsa, and he says to all the girls that are there, teach them how to do this form of ruqya, just like how you taught them how to write. Ibn Hajar, he says there is no evidence in this because of the fact that he is saying here that this narration here shows that it is permissible for women to be literate, but the other narrations that we've said in the beginning takes precedence because of the harm that is involved. So now Ibn Hajar in this fatwa, we do not agree with his position, but what he is actually saying is these narrations, according to him, they are authentic and they are acceptable. He is saying here two things. Number one, that they mean that women should not be literate, they should be prevented from reading and writing because of the fact that it could open up the doors for a lot of corruption to spread. They will end up engaging in things that they have no knowledge of. Number two, he is saying here, he admits at the time of the Messenger of Allah, some women were literate. So there is no problem with women being able to read and write. It is permissible in and of itself, but he is saying that the reason why it is haram is because of the fact that it could lead to a greater harm. So we should stop it. So even according to him, Ibn Hajar, he is not saying that it is not permissible al-itlaq, unrestrictedly. He is saying that it is restricted because of the harm that is involved. Having said that, we're using Ibn Hajar here because he's a promoter of this concept. He doesn't say that women should be prevented from education. There's a difference between being able to read and write and them learning things that they need to know. That's what we're saying here from a person who has accepted this narration, whereas the vast majority of the ulama have said these narrations are not authentic and women should be educated and women should have the ability to have access to be able to read and write because the religion obligates them just like it obligates males to learn how to read and write and those things which are beneficial for them in their religion. So hopefully this answers this misconception here that we've got from this narration, which is being used, unfortunately. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring rectification to the Muslim ummah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to return back to religion with the best of returning. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.